Hello, fiends, friends, and familiars. This is Matt Orozco here from Macabre Daily, and we're having a bit of a reunion here today because I'm joined by Alan Poe Sanchez, who's the writer, director, producer, editor of Total Party Kill, and I'm joined by two of the stars of the film as well as one of the producers, Christine Celozzi and Gracie Lacey. Thank you all for coming back to talk with me again about your outstanding short film, Total Party Kill.
Yeah, no, it's great to be back. I'm glad we're here. It's been a second. We're
Yeah.
slightly more knowledgeable, maybe a little bit less knowledgeable. It just depends on the person, mostly me. But glad to be here. Just glad to be here with you and Macabre Daily and bringing back Gracie and Christine.
Yeah. Thanks for having us.
Yeah.
Oh, it's a pleasure. And as I was telling you before we hit record, I had so much fun with Total Party Kill, and I think people are really going to enjoy seeing it at CineQuest on March 14th and the 17th. And I'm sure many other festivals throughout the year. So I feel fortunate that I get a chance to talk with you all not only before it was made, but also after it's made, so that when you all are famous and you're living your best possible dreams and Scrooge McDucking all your cash and swimming around in it, I'll be able to say, "Hey, I spoke to those people," when they made Total Party Kill. But um, when we last spoke, it was kind of we were talking a lot in almost generalities because you were doing the fundraising, you were doing Kickstarting for getting and the film had an amazing push at the end, and was so happy to see that it got not just to the goal but exceeded the goal. So going into the production, kind of post raising all that funds, like what was the process like for you all in terms of not only kind of working with Kickstarter to get the funds, but then from that point, the production schedule so that you could all, because you're all working like in the industry and working other things as well. So scheduling is not so easy as saying, "Hey, who's free?" It's more like, "Well, when are we free?"
Yeah.
Yeah.
Alan and I looked at each other the second that you asked that. Go ahead, Alan.
No, well, the biggest twist was like we were so not cocky, but we were so organized, and like we were ready to go. We had our like we were just we prepared like month to month. Like here's what we're gonna do: February pre-production, March set up for the Indiegogo, April do the Indiegogo, May we'll have the money so we can shoot immediately. And then we missed a little asterisk that was just like, hey, by the way, as soon as you get the money, there's going to be a delay in getting your cash. So yeah, so you're going to be waiting about like 2 weeks, and we're just like, that's when we shoot. And so we're like, oh no.
Major oversight on our
Yeah,
part, by the way.
I mean,
yeah.
also doesn't Indiegogo have the money? Like, I don't understand. Like, they automatically charge you when it closes. So, I mean, they got the cash. Are they trying to raise an interest on your money here? I mean, what's going on?
I think they were trying to verify like people that put the money and then they might do a chargeback or you know what I mean? It's just to make sure
Okay.
like it's smooth.
Yeah.
And they're like, oh
Shitty
yeah, that
people do
person's
shitty
a
things. That kind
yeah.
of thing.
And so that's like they had that wait period, and then they would do a deposit from the looks of it. After a week, we had a deposit. Then the second week, it was the other half. So, but like at that point, we are just like, oh no. So because we had to pay for like we were planning on paying for everything that we needed to do, and so we had to actually we were planning on shooting in early May, and unfortunately, with that weird delay with money, we kind of made the conscious decision to push the shoot back by a couple months to fit everybody's schedule because at that point everybody was set for that weekend. And then as soon as like, hey, we're gonna delay, everybody's like, I'm out for a month, and then somebody else is out for another month, or somebody has a bigger shoot. And so we had to realign all the schedules. And luckily it realigned in summer. And so it kind of worked out for us too, because it gave us more time to prepare and actually do a full on day of rehearsal for the cast. So like we actually got a rehearsal room and just went through the whole scene by scene of the whole film. Just and then for me, I would give my directions at that point. So the actors already knew when we went on set what I kind of wanted, and so we could at least be ahead on that point. So the blocking would be there, and then we had our DP Dallas with us during the rehearsal day too. So she was making notes, and we were doing our notes. And so by the time we were there, we just really would do small tweaks or small adjustments to adjust our my direction or like change up the tone or change up certain things so we could go a little bit faster because we shot in 3 days. We only had 3 days to shoot like a I
Whoa.
think it was well ultimately what was the original code was like a 19-minute movie, but we got it down to 16. But 3 days to shoot all that dialogue, like the special effects and making sure like we were like it was a lot of prep to hit those 3 days, and but that extra time of prepping gave us that leeway to prepare a lot more than what would have been probably a very chaotic May weekend. Like it'd be like, all right, we gotta go, and be like, oh no, we're I felt it in my bones to push it that couple months, and we felt that it was more of a wiser decision to do that,
Yeah.
but ultimately it did work out great,
Mhm.
with that extra time.
Yeah, I love that. And I mean, I think films are miracles, right? Like they're the fact that they get made at all most of the time is such like you kind of in hindsight are like, wait a minute, how did we somehow manage to like do this with our budget and then nobody died and like, we're good. Like so I think it, being able the agility to pivot in the moment to meet those different challenges is certainly not only something, admirable, but also it seems like a necessity in this kind of work. And um, it's nice now that I get a chance to put kind of your characters into context that I get to see them on screen. So Gracie, with like your character Flynn, I think one of the things that stands out so much is you have maybe the best scream I've heard in horror, because it's profoundly good without being shrieky. It feels genuine, authentic. As silly as this question is, like, have you honed this scream for years, or is this coming? Where's this coming from? Because it's so good.
Dude, I don't know. I love roller coasters, so maybe that's why. It's so funny. I tried to warn everybody. I was like, "Yo, y'all are gonna want to cover your ears because this is gonna be loud." But I had to do another horror movie a few years ago, and I think that's when I had realized like if you hit that note really high, I have like a musical theater background, so my brain works in pitch. And when they kept saying I was peaking, I was like, how do I scream normally without it like hitting that high screech? So that's good to hear that it wasn't super screechy. When I watched the film the first time, I was like, oh my God. Like that's it's the last moment of, the movie too, which what an image to land on that crazy scream. But yeah, it was funny because I warned the sound guy and he was like, okay, cool. And then I warned our DP and she's so good. Dallas is awesome. She was so in the moment that I don't think she understood that I was gonna like fully let it out. And so then after I did it, she was like, oh, that's what you meant. So I was like, good
I
job,
get
bro.
it now. I can't hear, but I get it now. No, it's
Yeah.
really good, and it's very like again. I think I've never had to scream like that I can remember. So I don't even know what it would sound like. I always feel like my scream would be just like a muted like because like, I wouldn't know what noise to make. But getting the right scream and the right pitch for a scream, I think is such an important part of genre work. And so wanted to give you your flowers on that, and not just
Oh,
and overall like of the character Flynn is so much kind of the adorable heart, I think, of this group of people who's looking at the bright side of things, especially in Christine. The one thing that I think you captured really well on the production side thing particularly, is just the look of what these tabletop sessions look like when people are getting together. It's not and especially when it's people that aren't like Dimension 20, where they have a huge set that's like built custom to do all these cool things. So if memory serves, I think I saw your name as the production designer. And so what were some of the things that you kind of were essential to creating that environment, and what did you draw from to make it feel so real?
Yeah. Well, I mean, this is a world that I didn't know anything about prior. So coming in, especially for the actual tabletop stuff, my good friend Charles Mesa, he knows a lot about gaming and a lot about D&D, and he also knows a lot about 3D printing. And so he very graciously, under his company Realm Rights, made all of our 3D models that were on the table. And he did a fantastic job. He painted all of them and everything too. He really put a lot of detail into it and a lot of thought into it. Um, and so, for the tabletop stuff, all that detail I would say is Charles coming up with different ideas and being like, what about this? What if we added this? And just really going balls to the wall with it, which we appreciated. Um, and then he gave me like a lot of moss and all this other stuff to dress the table with. And I was just, these were things that I hadn't even thought of. And I was like, oh, wow, okay. Like he gets super into it. And it was just, I don't know, it's always nice to see the passion that somebody has about something so much when you're, you know, um, kind of creating any sort of art. And someone brings something that they're so knowledgeable about to the table, and you're just like, oh wow, like you love this. Like I'm just gonna let you run with it. You tell me what you think works. Um,
Especially when it's a world you don't know, right? I think
yeah,
it's
yeah.
like you need somebody who's not only dialed in, but really passionate. I mean, I'm one of those people who never had enough friends when they were a kid to like play a tabletop game. Um, and so it's like I always wanted to play these things, but like I didn't have like you can't play D&D by yourself. That's just that
Mhm.
I'm pretty sure that's multiple personality disorder at that point. So
Nah.
like well, no, it's all good. Like I found like five friends now. I'm just kidding. No, I'm much better off now than I was in my younger years, um, but at the same time, I now follow people on social media who like all they do is make terrain for like
Mhm.
tabletop games, and they really
Yeah,
get into like just the stone
the
grooves and
detail's
like what it looks like.
incredible. Yep.
So it's a really admirable thing, and it's an art form of it itself. The people that paint miniatures are, I could like, again, I don't feel like I have the artistic bone in my body to do that, but they're like priming them and like using different techniques like dry brushing, and I'm like, what? Like I feel like I'm going to art class here. And that leads me to like the Red Nun creation. Like what, it sounds like Charles kind of maybe had a hand in maybe the actual creation of it at a literal level, but what was it like coming up with the actual look of the Red Nun to tell Charles and the team like what to make?
Yeah, that was I think the only piece that Charles didn't make. Like that was a fully custom piece that we built from the ground up. And I I was kind of envisioning stuff that I grew up loving growing up, like in terms of the 80s. Like I was like really trying to think of like old fantasy medieval stuff that I liked, like good examples like Willow, like the evil witch, the evil queen.
Bath Morta
I
is
was like,
so
well,
good.
yeah. And so I was like, well, what if we take that piece and just like make it even more darker? Just go more evil, mix it with Vlad the Impaler or Dracula, that type of story, and like make it like this tragic story of like this person that turned evil. And I just kind of was like, oh well, yeah, she has witch hands. I was like, I love the witchy hands. I love witch feel, and then has like instead of being, we call her the Red Nun. Like me, I just feel like it's like she was, or she came from a holy side, but then she had a tragedy happen. And then she just turned into this blood like witch, and just originally her color was like white and uh black, and then now you see her new colors like black and red because like it's now just from blood, like just the stuff that she became pure dark, this evil witch feel, and then kind of incorporated it with like that earthy, with her deer antlers, and just have that mix of it. And yeah, I just found like a miniature builder, and I just kind of assembled what I wanted and just colored it. And then I was like, yeah, Charles, here's what it looks like. Here's the feel. And then pretty much he took the 3D file that we built, and he built a custom base for it. And then from there, like kind of just put that piece onto it and just colored it how based on it was like a mix of like that with Kenny's work. Like we built the initial design on the miniature, but then Kenny reflected it onto Soren, who plays the Red Nun. And then from there, like Charles tried to match what Kenny did for what I originally drew, and kind of it became a mishmash of both, like what I built and what Kenny built, and then Charles finished it on the miniature from like because we did a makeup test like shortly after our funding happened. We did a makeup test with Soren to make sure like we liked what we saw, and it
And
became
Soren
the
looks
miniature.
great. Like Soren, I mean, obviously we don't see kind of parts of Soren's face and whatnot, and but just when like there's a particular shot when the Red Nun shows up on the first time, kind of in like that, she's kind of it's
Uh,
just like the forced perspective shot. I'm like
Mhm.
that's really cool, and just the hands coming out at the end, like at the end, like it all's done so well. And I think you kind of live or die on the design of the Red Nun because it plays such an important part, but also the practical effects in this are supremely fun. I don't want to spoil it for anybody, but Fina's scene is outstanding. Um, And even yours, Christine, when as Chloe meets her unfortunate end, there's like a really great close up of what must be your sternum or something. It just pops, and I'm like, and I don't know what part of the body that is, but I know it hurts. If that makes sense.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, that
So
that was all amazing work by Brittany and Kenny. Very like they legit were like game for making it the best aspect as they can be. Like, however budget we had, they worked out to like make it work. And yeah, it was like all problem solving on their end. And they're like, yeah, we could do this crazy scene. Yeah, that bonker, like just bonkers things that you want to do with your budget. Sure, we'll make it work. And yeah, but also it's just very terrifying because most of the stuff that we had were like we had one shot to do it,
yeah,
like one day, or we were done. And luckily, Kenny and Brittany prepped everyone to make sure like it was you know they told uh everyone, this is what's going to happen. They would break it down for every actor when there were special effects like happening, like what you need to do, and for them to prep to like time it out perfectly or know what was going to happen and break it down from there. So uh luckily we made a full day dedicated special effects day, like to once you day dedicated and to just make sure we had the time to get everything right instead of rushing it, and then just be, it could just unfold like chaotic so quick. But yeah.
yeah, if you miss one shot, right, and it kind of can throw your timetables off and all that, all the stuff that comes with the domino effect. Was there anything they told you? Hey, that's too much for like that's too audacious, and not so much budget wise, but more just like I don't know if we can pull that off.
Yeah, well, in one of the drafts, Michael Small with my co-writer, because like we did like three, four drafts, I think, before we made it into shooting. On like the second draft, like I gave him the original draft and I told him like, hey, he's the more of like the TTRPG guru than me. So I was like, hey, make him, if you need to adjust more stuff to make it more accurate and call me out on my BS, feel free to. I'm not gonna get hurt. I was like, I'm more of a newbie and I know you could like make it more authentic than I can. So he tweaked that and he also punched up some of the humor, like to change some of the jokes. And he adjusted some of the kills, but one of the kills in there, somebody's head explodes. Like that was one of the changes. And I remember we pitched it to Kenny, and Kenny was just like, Alan, that's gonna be like very expensive because I have to make a prop head and then
Right.
blow it up and then have a backup if in case it doesn't blow up. So I was like, and in my brain, I was like, so we get to do this other scene that I like, huh? It's like my evil side is like, he goes, and I pitched it to him. He goes, I was like, what about this? He goes, oh, we can do that with that budget. I was like, yes, please, yes. Thank you, Kenny. Thank you, Kenny.
Yeah, I mean, exploding heads are great, but I think what we get is not just good, it's great. And like again, I think it's so much of what I think the best short films make you want more, and I think that's the kind of how I left with this is like, oh, I want more. Like I want to see what happens before this. I want to know how they arrived here. Like I want to know more about these characters, like their relationships. Like there's clearly so much lived in material. And for you, Gracie, and for you, Christine, like how much did you create? Like what did you do to help create your characters in your own minds? Like I speak with a lot of actors who have different processes. Some of them create playlists. Some of them are, get really involved in like whatever they think their character would be doing as they try and live in that life. So is there anything in particular you tried to flesh out for your characters to make them more approachable for you?
Go ahead, Gracie.
Um, I love that question. Um, I tried to imagine what my relationship was with these women before. Um, and so I remember I texted Alan something about Elisa's character in mind because I'm definitely newer to the group. I'm the newbie. I don't know as much about Critical Role, D&D. I don't know anything about it, right? And so they're kind of teaching me along the way. So in my prep work, I was like, I don't, I'm not as comfortable with these girls, but I am comfortable with Elise. And maybe it's because I'm just queer and I try to make all my characters queer, but I was like, does does Flynn and Elise, do they have like a thing? And Alan was like, no. No, fine. I get it. I get it. I get it. They're just friends. We could be platonic friends. It's fine. But I was like, I really want that love to be there between them, platonic love. So yeah, I think my relationship that I focused on the most was my connection with Elise's character. Um, and then the best horror, in my opinion, is when you can really feel that love that everybody has for each other. It's when you have an emotional anchor.
Yeah.
So coming into this, I was like, I just want everybody to like feel like they're a part of this with us. And I want the kills, even though you're there for a short time, to really be shocking and like heartbreaking. I feel like that's when horror is the best, when you're so emotionally invested in the characters and you're like, no, like not them. And I feel like she has such an amazing comedic quality that you love her immediately when you see her on screen. Like even with the little lines, she just knows how to make them so funny. And so when she dies, you're like, fuck. I mean, wait, am I allowed to say
Oh
that?
yeah, you can say whatever you want. Well, whatever you want you'd be okay watching back, right?
Okay, well, I don't want to spoil anything, right? But like, you don't want to see any of these characters die, and like with Fina too, you're like, no, she's so freaking funny, and that's like such a testament to like Alan's writing with Michael too. Like, they just found so many fun jokes that when you can laugh with your characters too, it makes it so much more tragic when you cry with them. So yeah,
Love
I don't
that.
know if that answered your question adequately, but
Oh yeah,
I think
absolutely. How about you,
so.
Christine?
Yeah. Uh, yeah, I took a very different approach. Sorry. I love that approach, Gracie. I think that's so lovely. I relied heavily on our rehearsals, admittedly. So for this project in particular, I was acting, I produced, I did production design, I made Soren's dress. So like there were so many hats that I was wearing that when Alan was like, "Hey, I wrote this character based off of you," I was like, "All right, okay." Like I have full permission to just be myself that day in my messiest form. And I was like, it's great because I'm doing all these other things at the same time and I just feel frantic. So I was like, whatever I'm feeling that day is coming to screen with me.
Yeah.
And it was so easy to fall into that though, because we already had such, I'm like sitting here like I'm sitting at the table with you guys. We already had such great rapport on the table. Um, I feel like the five of us just kind of fell in really easily, and Soren too, as the Red Nun, even though she's supposed to be our enemy. Like, behind the scenes, she fell right in with us, and it felt like coming home to old friends. So I felt like I could just be messy in that way, and it was nice. Um,
I mean, that shines through. Like, just to give you all some credit on that, like it's when we first spoke last year, like it was very apparent to me at that time that like there was a chemistry and you hadn't even filmed anything yet. And then when we get to see the final product, like there's that like, initially awkward moment where you're starting to like you like as a viewer, you're trying to understand these characters. But that awkward moment is so minuscule in here because like within a minute, like you're able to immediately understand the relationship that these characters have. And there's not much said about it, right? So I think what Gracie, what you said about your kind of relation to Elise, like without you, like in my head, I thought while I was watching it, like there is something there between because you're always like you're her biggest fan. Like it's very obvious that like you've got her back on all things regardless. And when everyone else is like kind of taking the piss out of her, like you're there, like, no, this is actually a really good setup. Like it doesn't matter where you bought it from. And so there is that kind of like I think that just comes from, you all being so good at what you do, but also the chemistry you've cultivated together because you don't need to indoctrinate people into these characters. You kind of get them right away. And that's the most, again, that just it makes the enjoyment that much easier to get to because they don't have to figure out who these people are, what they're motivated by. And you all have such distinct characters that I think it's easy for it to be distinguishable between like, Tracy versus Chloe, like there's a difference there. So, hats off to, not just you, Alan, and you, Michael, and Michael for writing it, but like also for you all for bringing that, bringing your energies to it. And I think most interestingly, the rise of tabletop role-playing games over the past like year even has been massive. Like I don't it's I mean, was it a Critical Role and like Dimension 20 have sold out like Madison Square Garden multiple nights doing live tabletop sessions. So like we're reaching like this almost point where no one ever thought it would be, where you're talking about D&D in common places with common people. So what do you all think from your perspectives is the reason why we're seeing such a resurgence of this gaming and this format of gaming?
I think it's mainly because people miss using their imaginations in a very technology based world. Like we're all these days looking at screens a lot, looking at getting caught up in virtual. And when really a lot of us, me, I grew up on a very like analog based life, like, just being out watching movies. Yeah, sure, it was on the screen, but like I was still aware of my surroundings. And now people are like less aware, I think, these days. And I think that just tabletop role playing games is a perfect out. Like you're actually aware around everything. You're with people. You're using your thoughts and knowledge and to tell a story together. And I think that's something that's kind of missing nowadays. And I think that's like a perfect thing that kind of like people are realizing that they are kind of missing and they're jumping onto, because it's like more sociable, it's more intimate with people, and it's just like a very cultural thing that's just growing upon people, that they can just uh, make new friends with, and just tell like just have memories that they can really base on, instead of being like, I got this like, I got this comment or whatever, and just
Right.
forget about it 5 minutes later. You just remember remember that move you did, that natural 20 move that was really awesome. Like I remember that, like that saved us, that saved our party. I think that's where that's a key thing of why it's on the resurgence. To me, that's how I feel.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I feel like we're seeing it for a couple of reasons. One of which is people just want community again. Everyone's so divided now. Everything's very singular. 50 years ago, people were still carpooling to work together. Now it's
Yeah.
like a lot of people live at home. They work from home. They order all their groceries from home. Like a lot of things like that where you're doing things that you would normally be interacting with people at, and now you're taking that away, and spending so much time by yourself that I feel like people really, really are itching for community right now. And then secondly, I think people are itching for a sense of purpose. And I think with D&D, you have a purpose as that character. You can live in that world for a little bit. It's something to look forward to every day of the week, or every however often you're meeting with your friends. It's something that you can think about and plan for. And I think that's exciting for people. And I think that's kind of what a lot of people are missing right now, is just something to be excited about.
Yeah.
There's a lot in the world that I feel like is out of our control. I think the
Mhm.
pandemic was really traumatizing. And also, in a way, I think it showed us how desperately we need community. And not having that, the lack of that, really makes you see how badly you need it in your life. And so being able to get together in person and unite against a common enemy, even if the common enemies in our world, even if we all unite against, sometimes it takes a long time to take an enemy down, right? And we keep hoping, I don't want to like talk politics, but we keep hoping that the new generation will rise up and like take over the old, but the older generation is making copies on copies of themselves. And so
Right.
that feels so, you can feel so bogged down in that if you're not careful. And so I feel like going to this fantasy world with your friends in which you can unite together, take down this common enemy, and win together is such an elevating experience. And so I feel like that's why people are not only playing, but watching. I mean, I'm on vacation right now in Mammoth and I'm with my mom. And we went to this bar and people are playing Uno in the bar. And really, people are playing
Awesome.
like card games together in bars now because we are able to get back together and do this and feel connected.
Mhm.
I agree with everything you've all said, and the only thing I would even add is that I think there's such a desire to escape the what's happening around us, and it doesn't have to be escaping into a being a hero all the times, right? Like I think some of the most entertaining campaigns I've ever watched people play have been where it's like someone who's like, I'm a soup witch, and it's like, oh, what are your powers? Like, I got a ladle, and it's like, but if you believe in this character, it becomes the most fascinating thing because you get to dictate how, like, maybe a soup witch doesn't mean anything to anybody when you say that, but you can give that, kind of what you said, Christine, like purpose, like, or you give it like a purpose and a sense of like, I have a duty and responsibility that I can build around this that's not beholden to what's happening around me in the real world. Um, so I think, the community part is so true. Like I work from home and I'm fortunate enough to have gone through enough mental health crises in my life where I'm now self-aware. So
Yes.
I am like very noticing like in my behavior when it changes. So I know like if I don't, get enough interaction in a certain number of like, if it's been this many days since an interaction has happened, um, I feel like I am weird and I feel like I start to lose my social skills atrophy a little bit. I become more Gollum, less
Yeah.
Smeagol. And so it's like, I think we do like our bodies do need that, and like we don't realize it. We kind of often ignore it, and it's so much easier to get the quick dopamine hit versus like the more maybe active creating community and meeting people and taking a chance and being vulnerable. So all those
Mhm.
things I think are just really important now. And um, my last question for you all, and it might be a little presumptuous, but I have really good feelings about this short is that I know when we talked last that this is kind of what the hope is to make this to a feature. I would love to see a feature length film with these characters, and like even if it's just them playing D&D, I think that would be really interesting. um, but if you were thinking about expanding this to a feature, like what are some of the directions you'd like to go with it? Will we be going backwards in time, forwards in time? What's on the table? What would be most exciting?
Yeah, yeah. Right now, as of like a month ago, like I've actually started developing some of the story for the feature with Michael and now Elise, who's now joining us in our little board of story development. And trust, we went like every single direction that you can think of. We went back, forward, like we were just like, let's just lay it out on the table, see what like is. Let's get weird, let's get bonkers, let's just see what sticks. Like I told Christine some crazy ideas that came. I was like, this is not gonna happen, but look what happened. They're like, that's pretty cool. I was like, yeah, it's weird, right? But ultimately, like the goal is to kind of recreate the spirit of the short, but not recreating it to like one by one, but expanding on it, expanding on the characters, getting to the game, making it more of like maybe Flynn's perspective of like being the entry into this group of people. A little bit more on not just it being a battle, it's like one battle, because that's not really what D&D is about. It's a battle. It's about the exploration, the game, the interaction. So we're playing with that realm of like, okay, how do we get from this to the Red Nun, or how does the Red Nun evolve with it, or how does this evolve with it? So we're kind of playing around with it right now. I kind of have a feel of what I'm going to go with it. Like I know mainly like it's going to be more through Flynn's perspective and kind of evolve, like add more body bags, obviously, add more people in onto the table. Um, and there's a lot of bits that we were throwing that are really hilarious that like I am so excited to just even put on paper. Like I haven't got it on paper yet, but like I have notes of like from what everybody said. I'm like, oh, this is gonna be one of like the funniest scenes I've ever like just ever was pitched. It's ridiculous, but it's gonna be like the spirit is there, but it's to be very expanded and like more, again, more about the characters and they're kind of like, so we really care about them when they go, and kind of playing around with more of the Red Nun's otherworldly feel. Because in the short, you see her pop in for like an out. I was like, what if we kind of Freddy Cougar it up a little bit? What if she's it's like, what if those are a little bit longer? Like nightmare sequences are a little bit more drawn out to like their fears, and
I mean,
because she
seeing
could
more
be.
of the Red Nun doing that, I think is like the Freddy Krueger element is if I have a say on anything, that's a really cool way to go about it. Um, And how do you, how much, how in like you all seem like you have such great chemistry. So how much is this kind of a community effort to bring this like kind of to feature to life? Because I feel like you all put so much in to develop these characters. Like it feels like at this point, is there a lot of like back and forth on like, hey, here's what I'm thinking for Flynn, what do you think? That kind of thing.
I've talked to everyone on this. Like these are all like luckily everyone on this team is like some of my dearest friends. Like I've like Gracie I've known for years. It's like almost 10 years. It's crazy. Like one of my dearest like person like dearest friend, closest friends that I've ever like and constantly work with. Christine, like it has become like one of my best friends. Like so cool. Like we know each other like less than 5 years, but like we're both gremlins. We know we have the same personality practically. Wait, and just more of like, yeah, I would just tell them a little bit like, here's what I'm thinking, and I'll just get a little reaction like, okay, cool, like they like this or they don't like this, or and yeah, like everyone else too, like Elise and Fina and Dallas and Kenny and Brittany and Sean and like everybody was like, is this friend? Like we all were just people that became very friendly with each other. That's how it kind of became this like really fun set. Like it was not like really stressful. Like there's some stressful moments, but like it was not like
Mhm.
people were just throwing chairs at people, laying smackdowns or anything like that. It's just everybody. It was one of the funnest sets. Like in me, like and that's like it's all because we're all near and dear friends.
Yeah, well, I also want to give a shout out, Christine. I loved your Frank's List short that you were so gracious to share with me before. So there's so much talent and it's a part of this that I'm just so excited for you all to see people's reaction to this because I feel like it's so, you're working in kind of this. We think it's cool, but we don't know yet. Like that kind of thing. So I feel good in saying that I think the reception is going to be overwhelmingly positive. And I want to remind everyone that's watching this, you can catch it at CineQuest on March 14th. It's the premiere, and there's a second showing on the 17th. So if you're in San Jose or you're nearby, please go and support this film. And of course,
Yeah.
I'm sure we'll be seeing it on all the various genre festivals that are popping up. So you've got friends over at Macabre Daily, but I want to just thank you all again for time to chat, and I'm really excited for the world to see Total Party Kill.
Awesome. Thank
Yeah,
you so
thank you so much.
much.
Yeah, thank you.
Oh, it's a pleasure.